Hello, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us today on ClueCon Weekly. Today, our guest is Jonathan Rosenberg of Five9, and he's here to give us a little bit of background on how he and his company use FreeSWITCH. So, hey, Jonathan, how you doing?
Great. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, thanks. So, for those of us who are new to, your face is new too, why don't you go ahead and tell everybody a little bit about yourself and what you do and how you got started on this career path?
Happy to do that. So who am I? I'm Jonathan Rosenberg. I'm the CTO and head of AI for Five9. I'll start with what's Five9. For those of you who don't know, Five9 is a cloud contact center SaaS provider, one of the market leaders in this space. We're a publicly traded company, have lots and lots of agent seats in the cloud. I've been with Five9 for about 9 months now. How did I get my start? So I've been doing IP communications for my entire career. I got my PhD from Columbia. My PhD thesis topic was SIP, which was a research thing at the time. And I worked on that. I'm the primary author of SIP, for those of you listening who don't know. And so that grew from a research topic for my doctorate to pretty successful technology out in the marketplace. And I've worked at a bunch of different companies over the years, from Cisco to startups to Skype, and now Five9, continuing to work on innovation in IP telecoms. And I've come to Five9 because it's a really interesting and exciting time for a contact center.
That's wonderful. So what got you interested in SIP in the first place?
So great question. So hold on one sec. So what got me interested in SIP in the first place was, it was like I was always into like signal processing and real-time and audio in my undergraduate work, and I was working at Bell Labs as a researcher, and my boss was like, "You got to get a PhD because everyone at Bell Labs has PhDs, and we'll pay for it at Columbia." I'm like, "Okay."
Wow.
So good deal, right? So I sign up, and I don't really know what my topic is, and this new faculty joins Columbia. This guy Henning Schulz-Rennie. And he's working in IP communications, and it's sort of interesting stuff. And I meet with him, and we seem to hit it off. And he took me on as his first doctoral student. He's like, "Hey, I'm working on this SIP thing. Why don't you go take a look?" And that was it. So,
and then that's all she wrote.
What she wrote, exactly right.
Do you stay into contact with him?
Oh yeah. We stayed in touch. We worked together for years and years, even past my graduation, of course. And I still see him usually a couple times a year.
That's wonderful. I have a lot of professors that I now keep in contact with on Facebook, so I love that. It's always so good. Good people, good back and forth. They are always posing interesting questions, you know? Yeah.
Well, the thing is easy for me, even beyond that. Like, we literally continued to work together on standards, technologies for decade plus past my completion of my PhD. So it was good.
That's really nice. I like that a lot. So I do have a couple of questions here for you.
Sounds good.
What is Five9 doing with FreeSWITCH right now?
Good question. What is Five9 doing for FreeSWITCH? So we, as I mentioned, are a cloud contact center provider. And what that does, just so we're all clear, is if you as an end user ever call like 1-800 customer support or something, that call gets routed to a contact center, which answers the call. It puts the call in queue. You may have a voice response menu that you navigate through. Then connects the call to an agent. The agent may transfer you, put you on hold, or whatever. So telephony and voice is a core part of what a contact center does. What we've been doing over the past few years is moving our voice technology off of a dedicated hardware, which was what everyone was doing many years ago, and moving towards software to allow us to have better quality, features, scale, and so on and so forth. And that the foundation of that software architecture is FreeSWITCH. So what we're doing with FreeSWITCH is basically like, well, everything. Like, pretty much once we're done with the migration, which takes some time, but it's more than halfway done now. Basically, every call that connects to a contact center powered by Five9 is actually getting terminated on a FreeSWITCH. Which then does all then on our software instructs it on playing greetings and prompts and connecting the calls to different agents. So it's actually FreeSWITCH at the core of it. And so that's sort of what we're fundamentally using it for. And like I said, we've been doing that for some years now. The thing we're doing right now is a couple really exciting things, actually. One of them is we, like everyone else, are looking at public cloud. And so we've been in the process of deploying FreeSWITCH first into Amazon data centers, which we now have live and in production. And we've started to move into GCP. And there the trick was we wanted to go up level it. So instead of just deploying to VMs, we've been in the process of getting this, deploying Docker containers and trying unsuccessfully at the moment, by the way, to make it work with Kubernetes, but we have it running in Docker on VMs. And building automation around it to allow us to get auto scale up, scale down, all those kind of things. So that's right now in progress. And then the second really interesting thing we're doing is we're working on artificial intelligence, and that's part of my remit. A big part of that is doing speech recognition and natural language processing. And there we've leveraged FreeSWITCH capabilities for plugging into like Google Dialogflow and Google ASR. There's all these modules that have been built that allow these integrations, and we've been using them. And it's another important part of the work that we're doing.
That's awesome. So pretty unique, right? Pretty unique things.
Yeah, I mean, we think it's exciting. I don't think we're not the only ones certainly playing with Docker and containerization.
No, yeah.
We are doing some of the AI stuff, but there are a few things about our usage of FreeSWITCH which are really different. And it's sort of like my call to action for the community, like, hey, remember us? You know, contact center does some slightly different things. So one of the things we do that's really different is we use permanently nailed up connections to the agents. And what that means is when an agent in a contact center logs in the morning and they type in their username and password, log in, basically we call them back on their phone or a soft client or WebRTC. We have a few different options. And then it auto answers, and that's it. They are now in a nail up call for the rest of the day. Wow. And nothing is flowing until a real customer calls in. And so the way to think about this is it's like a permanent bridge. Like every agent is its own audio bridge. And when we want to connect an incoming call from a customer to an agent, we just connect that customer to the bridge that the agent is sitting on. Wow. And so that's how we do it. And there's a bunch of reasons for that. Probably the biggest reason is speed. In the contact center, like every second counts. And so this allows us to very quickly get the calls to the agents and move the agents around much faster than what we'd be able to do otherwise. This is especially important for outbound calls where there's actually even legal requirements about how quickly you connect a call that you make to an agent. In fact, Madison, you've probably noticed this. And these are people who aren't doing the right thing. Have you ever gotten one of those calls on your phone and you think it's a robocall, and maybe it is, and you answer it, and you're like, hello, hello, and there's nobody there? Yes. Have you ever had that? Yeah. Yeah. And you're like, well, why are they calling me if nobody is there? Are they that stupid? Exactly. Well, let me answer the question for you. Please do. So the reason is they're trying to do outbound calling, and they have a limited number of agents. So they have maybe like 10 agents, and they're constantly making phone calls, and they're doing a bad job because they're placing a call to you before the agent is ready. So all the 5 agents are still on the call, on their call. So they're not able to route the call to an agent because they're all busy handling other customers. So that's a bad behavior, by the way. And there are actually laws that say you're not supposed to have, that can happen sometimes even for good, the properly behaving contact centers. You have to keep that percentage below a threshold. There's legal limits on it. These robocallers go way above that. We at Five9, we kick those guys off actually eventually, but we're really pay careful attention to this. But anyway, I go down this route to tell an interesting story about why you get those weird calls where no one's on the line, and then to help understand that's just one of many examples where speed of connecting the call to an agent is important. In the case where it was legitimate, we would literally want to time it so the minute the end user answers the phone, the agent is just hanging up and the next call gets delivered like 100 seconds later. So our system can do that. And so that's one of the reasons we use these nailed up connections. Now, what does it have to do with FreeSWITCH? FreeSWITCH, interestingly, is not super optimized for this case. And we've made some changes over the years to FreeSWITCH to make it better handle this use case. And it certainly changes the way you think about a lot of other features. So think about us. We're not the only ones even.
I like that. That's really interesting.
Yeah.
So I do have another question here. And tell me if I'm saying it wrong, but how are you solving the K8s issue?
Kubernetes. So K8s, Kubernetes.
K8s.
I mentioned this before, right? Yeah. I mentioned this before that it's a challenge to get FreeSWITCH working in Kubernetes. And that's not just us. Everyone's struggling with these things. And a lot of it has to do with actually real-time communications. Like voice over IP doesn't work like web, is just the simple way to think of it. And Kubernetes and a lot of other modern web platform technologies are all built on web protocols, and they work great if it's web. Like, for example, web uses static port numbers. So, port 80 for HTTP, 443 for HTTPS, and so there's well-established processes for how you can run multiple containers in a single node, and you can route the HTTP traffic to them, and it all works fine. Unfortunately, voice over IP uses dynamic port ranges that happen to be incompatible with Kubernetes out of the gate, at least. And so this is like one of many things. Oh, UDP is another thing. So, voice over IP uses UDP and web doesn't. So that's different. So all these things are complicated. And so that's been a big challenge for us. I know a lot of people are working on it. One of the things that I've been working on, and I've actually been working on it with Anthony Minisale, for the author of FreeSWITCH, is I got so frustrated by this. I said, you know what? It's sort of my fault, personally. Jonathan Rosenberg, I am partly to blame for this problem. Why is that? Because it has to do with the way the protocols work. SIP and RTP, and these protocols, many of which I've worked on, right? Like, they're just incompatible with these new web technologies. So maybe what we need is a new version of SIP that actually does work with these technologies. And so, so I started to work with Anthony and a bunch of others on a next generation SIP protocol called RIP.
RIP, I like it.
RIP. We're going to rip with RIP.
Yes. What is RIP?
I know. I think about these things a lot with naming. Like, you got to have something like it's quippy, pithy,
easy to remember.
Yeah, easy to remember. Yeah. It's the real-time internet peering protocol. It's a brand new protocol that we just submitted first draft to the IETF a couple months ago. Very early. No one's, it's not productized. Its spec is not even complete or implementable in its current form. But, it's sort of a first step. Yeah. And the interesting idea with it, Madison, it's like really fascinating, is let's build a signaling and media protocol, so a replacement for SIP, SDP, and RTP, out of HTTP. So, and it turns out this used to not be possible, but it is now possible because the latest version of HTTP has enough capabilities to support real time. And with that change, it now becomes possible to re-specify voice over IP as a web application protocol on top of the next generation HTTP. And so if we do that for just another web app like any other web app on top of HTTP, then all of a sudden all these technologies being built that support web applications now also will work great for telecom applications. And I'm very excited about that possibility. And so yeah, that's our long-term, like 2 to 3 years or more out solution for this. In the meantime, we're actively working, like lots of other folks, to look at OS and network level changes and enhancements to make FreeSWITCH work in Kubernetes. But in the long term, this thing might make it as easy to deploy FreeSWITCH into Docker, Kubernetes, Istio, as deploy a web app. That's the goal.
That is awesome. That's a great goal to have.
Yep. So pretty fun stuff. Like I said, bleeding edge, but we'll see. So we'll continue to iterate and try and do some prototypes maybe into next year to see if it works.
That would be great. So can I ask, what of this process so far, what has been the most challenging, would you say?
Of this coming up with this new protocol technology? There's nothing actually technically super complicated about it. Well, there are some hard parts. I should take that back. The hard part is really dealing with the fact that we have these media packets, the RTP packets traditionally, and we want them to be unreliable and delivered out of order and all these kind of things that's better for voice. And it's not exactly quite how the HTTP3 is designed, so we sort of have to contort ourselves just a little. And so the hardest part is like, what's the right way to sort of hack real time into the way HTTP3 is structured without necessarily changing HTTP3. There's a group of us who are working on it who, like, one of the guys is interested, like, well, we'll fix it in HTTP4. Like, HTTP4, dude, like, the world is not even fully up to HTTP2 yet. Like, 3 is still being specified, and you're already talking about 4? I don't want to wait for 4. I want to solve 3.
Yes.
I mean, it turns out this is sort of the hard problem, Madison, is how to get that mapping work. It is possible to do an HTTP3, and so I wrote down an algorithm in the specification that makes it work. Not all of the co-authors even agree on that algorithm because they think there's different ways to do it and there's pros and cons.
Yeah.
So this is the hardest part, is getting that mapping working.
Yeah, absolutely. And you have how many people are working on this, would you say?
Yeah, so right now we have 6 co-authors, I think, 5 or 6 on the draft. So we had Anthony, myself, this guy Cullen Jennings from Cisco. I had a guy from Comcast, Jason Livingood, and a guy from Google, who's Justin Uberti. So these are all industry people who both are standards contributors and also run significant pieces of VoIP infrastructure or software at their respective companies. So it's a really good, like, with the people. It's like, a lot of people see this as a problem, and so that's really good. And we presented it at the IETF meeting a couple months ago, and there was lots of interest. Wonderful. And I had people send me. In fact, I unveiled it. I presented it live for the first time at ClueCon. It was part of the keynote at ClueCon, and there was tons of positive feedback there too. People like, sign me up. How do I work with you on it? I want to implement. Like they're not quite there yet, but when we get there, we'll give you a call.
Yeah, absolutely. And this was your first ClueCon, right?
That was my first ClueCon. Yeah.
What'd you think?
It was very cool. I love the name, by the way, ClueCon. And these sort of unconference things for developers, I think, are really good. So it was very targeted content and lots of hands-on sessions and super technical people. I enjoy meeting with people where I can get down into the details on technology. And a lot of other stuff I do, like I can't go to those depths.
Yeah.
So it was good. I really liked it.
You think you'll be back next year?
Well, that's not up to me now, is it? I guess maybe I'll get. No, I'm kidding. Well, we'll see. We'll see if the schedule allows.
That would be great. Well, Jonathan, are there any pieces of advice that you would offer to anyone who is working in this field?
Yeah, I guess I would say, it's all going to the cloud. And so the interesting stuff is all on the intersection of telecom and cloud technologies. And that's where I would recommend folks to be looking and playing and solving problems. Lots of problems to be solved there.
Absolutely.
Yep.
So is there anything else you'd like to say as we're winding down on time here?
5.9 is awesome. If you're looking for a contact center, give me a call. Happy to hook you up. I think that's about it.
All right, great. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. And if anybody out there has any questions, they can go ahead and leave those in the comment sections under the videos, and we can get those over to Jonathan, and Jonathan can help you out further with that.
Yep.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, and we'll talk to you soon.
All right, thanks. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thanks for watching ClueCon Weekly.
Don't forget to give this video a like and a subscribe, and while you're at it, make sure to go and follow all of our other social media channels.
We'll see you right here next week, same time, same place. And catch you at ClueCon.